Hello. Good evening. If board members could please come to the table. Who's going to Good evening, and welcome to tonight's public hearing on school board member salaries. On behalf of the school board members, I would like to thank you for taking your time this evening to come and talk to us about this topic. Before we proceed, the board will certify closed meeting. In order to comply with Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, it is necessary for the board to certify that since the Fairfax County School Board convened a closed meeting on April 9th, 2015, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during the closed meeting. Do I have a motion? All right, for Mr. Moon, seconded by Ms. Reed. All of those in favor? That would be Mr. Moon, Ms. Reed, Mr. McElveen, Ms. Smith, Ms. Daranack Kofax, Ms. McLaughlin, Mr. Stork, Ms. Strauss, and Ms. Evans. All those opposed? Abstentions? Abstentions are Ms. Hines, Mr. Velkoff, and Ms. Schultz. The motion passes. All right. If you have not done so, please provide your written comments to a staff member at the entrance of the auditorium, there in the back, and please turn off or silence your cell phones. Tonight, we have 27 registered speakers. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes, and to please be respectful of everyone, we ask that you stay within that time limit. The deputy clerk will start the timer when you begin to speak, and you will be able to see the time remaining on the clock on the lectern, and the buzzer will sound at the conclusion of your 3 minutes. 3 names and their speakers will be announced at a time. When you hear your name and speaker number, please move closer to the front of the auditorium so you will be ready when it is your turn to speak. If speakers are not here when their name is called, those names will be called again at a later time. If you have not registered to speak tonight but would like an opportunity to address the board, please see the staff member at the entrance of the auditorium to sign up for one of their 5 extra reserved speaker slots. Your name will be called after all registered speakers. Also, there is an opportunity for individuals to speak if there are no-show slots remaining at the end of the hearing. After there are any no-show slots available. For this, we ask that you state your full name at the time to speak. After you have spoken, please see the deputy clerk so she may collect your contact information for the record. The board will be taking action on this topic later this evening during the regular business meeting, which is scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. And now, our first 3 speakers are Marilyn Harriman, Tracy Waller, and Adriana Rico.
Good evening. Superintendent Garza and school board members, thank you for inviting citizens, Fairfax County public school employees, and students to speak tonight about the school board's request to raise its salary from $20,000 to nearly $40,000. The school board has asked citizens to fund a more than 85% increase in its salary. For the past several years, Fairfax County Public Schools has either frozen its teacher salaries or increased salaries by an average of a mere 1.4%, according to the Washington Post. Tonight, the school board proposes to raise its salary to more than 85%. I note with interest that in November, you approved a 2% teacher raise. With the 2% raise, Fairfax County Public School teachers have larger class sizes and salaries still lag behind adjacent school district salaries. According to the Washington Post, You, the school board, justify the request for an increase in salary based on all of the additional hours you are working to meet the needs of students and teachers in the district, and it's a lot of hours. The Washington Post shared Megan McLaughlin's thoughts on the issue when they quoted her as saying, "Many residents don't understand the depth and breadth of the work we have to do." Let's just juxtapose this with the work Fairfax County Public School teachers undertake and what Fairfax County Public Schools teachers are paid. Payment is for 7.5 hours each workday, as stated on the employee's payroll statement and contract. However, it's common knowledge that teachers work many, many more hours than the hours they are contracted to work. To complete job requirements assigned to them, teachers stay late at school planning and evaluating work. To complete job requirements, they also take work home. The problem is that the school board isn't acknowledging nor is it paying teachers for this depth and breadth of work and additional hours that they're working to complete job requirements. Let me provide you an example of what kind of extra hours I'm talking about. Most FCPS high school teachers currently have a current class load of 130 to 148 students. When English teachers assign an essay to their students as required, they do this multiple times each school year, and it takes a teacher at least 8 to 10 minutes per student per essay. That adds up to more than 20 hours for most teachers. If you have a class load of 148, it's 25 to 28 hours per essay. In conclusion, teachers are not paid for these hours. Before we raise school board members' salaries, isn't it time for teachers to be paid the hours they give to deliver the high quality of education that Fairfax County is well known for? Thank you for your time.
Tracy Waller, followed by Adriana Riccio and David Coughlin. Ms. Waller, are you here? No? All right, Adriana Riccio.
Good evening, members of the school board, esteemed colleagues, and community members. Thank you for your service to Fairfax County Public Schools, its teachers, and employees. I recognize and appreciate the hard work and dedication you show every day. I understand the decisions you must make for the future of FCPS are difficult, and I know that you hold student success and growth at the highest priority. I am here today to discuss the proposed salary increase for the members of the school board. My name is Adriana Riccio. I am a teacher at Glasgow Middle School in Alexandria. In my time at Glasgow, I have seen tremendous growth in our students and an unbelievable amount of hard work and dedication in our teachers and employees. We are a mighty district serving some fantastic students. Our reputation is outstanding, yet as you know, we are fighting every day to keep it that way. While I acknowledge the contribution and value of this dedicated school board, I propose that a salary increase for school board members be delayed and reconsidered in the 2019 budget to allow efforts to be directed to the increasing needs of our students and our desire to hire and retain highly effective teachers in the classroom. When looking at a comparison between Montgomery County Public Schools and Fairfax County Public Schools, we can see that Montgomery County's enrollment is not far behind us, having only 30,000 students less than Fairfax County, or a difference of 16%. The difference in the salary of school board members is also 16%. However, with the proposed salary increase to $37,500 per year, FCPS school board members would receive a salary that is 51% greater than board members in MCPS. When comparing teacher salaries, FCPS teachers make an average of 5% less than Montgomery County teachers. Fairfax teachers have made continued salary sacrifices while watching our neighboring districts find ways to avoid cutting teachers' pay. What sacrifices have the school board made to justify the continued sacrifices of our teachers? This proposed increase to the school board salary would mean Fairfax County school board members receive 51% more than Montgomery County school board members, but our teachers receive 5% less. What message does this difference send about our priorities as a school district? One argument for increasing the school board member salary is that a higher salary would attract higher quality candidates. while this is important, our top priority should be attracting and retaining high-quality teachers and school leaders. With our current budget shortfall, we are struggling to compete with surrounding area school districts for high-quality teachers and leaders. We are spending a great deal of money onboarding new teachers instead of investing in the high-quality teachers that are dedicated to our students. Our approach to high-quality education for our students should be to build a strong foundation of quality teachers and school leaders. By increasing school board salaries, we are effectively saying that the needs of our students, teachers, and school leaders are not our top priority. How at this critical time could we choose to focus on anything but our students? Again, I want to thank you for your dedication to the success of our students in our district. Your expertise, hard work, and your ability to make the best decision in difficult situations does not go unnoticed. However, I urge you to reconsider the plan for increasing the school board salaries until the salaries of teachers and school leaders can also be increased. Without this, our school system will not be able to maintain its fantastic reputation. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I trust you'll make the right decision for our district.
David Coughlin, followed by Mike Schick and Justine Bunn.
Dr. Garza and members of the school board, thank you for giving me and other residents of Fairfax County an opportunity to discuss your proposal to raise member salaries from $20,000 to $37,500 per year. That's an increase in pay of $17,500, or 87.5%. Your last pay increase was 8 years ago, so if my math is right, that's an increase of over 8% per year over the last 8 years. I wonder, have the teachers of Fairfax County seen their pay raise by 8% per year over the last 8 years? Have the teachers of Fairfax County seen their pay rise by 8% in any year over the last 8 years? Have planning commissioners seen their pay rise that much? Fairfax Board of Supervisors, delegates, any Fairfax County employee? Certainly you do a lot of work, and an adjustment in your pay may be warranted. But the proposed pay raise does not stand up to scrutiny. Worse, you're suggesting it when everywhere across the county, people are tightening their belts and subsidized lunches are at an all-time high. I've not spoken with the people who are about to speak after me, but I suspect they will tell you much the same thing. They'll talk about other school boards and what their members make. They'll talk about other school employees and what they make. They'll talk about the perception of board members pushing through an unheard of raise during a time of fiscal austerity. At the end of the day, the only argument that members of the school board can make and have made, Mr. Moon, you made this argument, is that the pay raise is necessary to attract well-qualified candidates to the school board, as if only lousy candidates would serve on the school board for what you're paid. To this argument, I can only say that if you pass this raise, you might be right. Thank you.
Mike Schick, followed by Justine Bunn and Selva Siva Prakasam.
Thank you. I'm Michael Schick, Dr. Garza, members of the school board. When I first heard of the proposed increase of 100%, I looked into other school boards and their salaries. From the National School Board Association, frequently asked questions on their website, do school board members receive pay? School board members tend to be dedicated volunteers. 75% of all small district school board members receive no salary at all. Less than 40% of large district school board members work greater than 40 hours per month on board-related duties in return for a modest salary. Let's review the Fairfax School Board's increases in salary. In 1999, we went from $8,000 to $12,000. 2007, we went from $12,000 to $20,000, and the proposed increase now is $20,000 to $37,500. Our teachers their salaries lag neighboring districts, while at this moment our school board salary is comparable to these same districts. Loudon, it's the same pay. Arlington makes $2,040 more, and Prince William, $8,000 less. It's good we want to excel and surpass neighboring districts, but just in school board salaries? Megan McLaughlin said many residents do not understand the depth and breadth of the work that we have. She noted that members attend multiple meetings each week as part of their school board duties. I also attend multiple meetings a week. I'm not paid for them. As part of my parental duty, I volunteer about 20 hours per month at my child's school. That's along with my 60-hour work week. I think the residents might just understand. This is a large system, 189,000, but comparable size systems in Chicago of 404,000, Houston 203,000, Hawaii 178,000, the board members are not paid their volunteers. I don't want you to work for free, but I do want you to vote down this increase. Over 400% increase in salary since 1999. We barely pay cost of living expenses for educators, and you want over 400%. Has anyone here received 469% increase for doing the same job since 1999? I think not. I thought we didn't want Common Core here in Virginia, but your math doesn't add up. If you approve this increase, you will make me consider running for the school board, not because I think it's finally worth my time and money, but because my first order of business will be to cut school board salaries. Just say no. Thank you.
Is Ms. Tracy Waller here? All right. Speaker number 6, Justin Bunn. Speaker number 7, Siva Praskaman. Speaker number 8, Cheryl Wood. Speaker number 9, Cheryl Binkley.
Well, good afternoon, Chairwoman Fairfax and members of the school board, Dr. Garza. My name is Cheryl Binkley, and I come to you tonight strictly as an individual Fairfax County resident and one of your employees. First, I'd like to thank you for the time you spend supporting our community in schools. I've been around, I've seen it, you work hard. On numerous occasions, I and my colleagues have come to you asking for a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And many of us feel very angry at the long wait for fair compensation. But I'm a firm believer in fair compensation for work done, not just for myself and my friends, but as a principle for all people. And I know that $20,000 a year is not fair pay for the credentials required and the amount and level of work you do. I've also worked in the past at jobs labeled part-time, but really full-time, and more. I recognize that it's one of the ways that we minimize the status and the stature of those who work with children and for children. And the effects of that spills over into so many areas of our culture and our economy. Pay scales are also a way of valuing not only the person who holds the job, but the importance and the significance of the job itself and of those who are served by it. By depressing the wages of our school board, we devalue the youngest in our society, and we devalue our schools in general, regardless of whether it's politically expedient. For these reasons, I want to express my individual support of your plan to raise salaries for school board members. It's justified, it's necessary, it is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Speaker number 10 is Douglas Payne, followed by speaker number 11, Stuart Gibson.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to address the school board on the issue of pay increases. I appreciate the opportunity to share my feelings and the feelings of many of my coworkers. When I first heard of the proposed pay raise, I had feelings of disbelief and anger. Disbelief that you would even consider such a pay raise, and anger that we as employees have had to cut back, do without, settle for less for many years because of budget issues. This feels like a slap in the face to those who work so hard to make this school system what it is. I understand the proposal was submitted as an 85% pay raise after the 100% suggestion, but this is still disgraceful. I'm sure being a school board representative in Fairfax County is demanding. However, this is a part-time position that you volunteered for with the idea of serving your community. How can you justify this much of an increase? While not receiving a decent pay raise in years, school staff has had their workload increased substantially to compensate for eliminated positions and increased enrollment. The SR&R has been relaxed to a point where it's difficult to give a student any meaningful discipline. Tardiness means nothing and is rampant throughout the day. Attendance issues are not easily dealt with, and it is nearly impossible to have a student expelled for gross violations of the SR&R. And to do so, the paperwork is horrendous. It is time that we stop lowering the standards to meet the students and start raising our students to meet the standards. Employees have also questioned the cost to cover the later start times for next year. Many employees see the $5 million as a potential pay raise and wonder why the money was spent on something that wasn't broken. They also question students will really benefit from this. Sports practice will start later, students get home later, do homework later, and go to bed later. You're also adding more buses and vehicles to the road right in the middle of rush hour. Commute times will be longer, and heavier traffic will increase the chances of accidents for young, inexperienced drivers. Longer commute times will mean that buses are going to have to compensate for traffic in their runs. The point behind this is basically that it's going to cost more money than you anticipated, and as far as staff goes, they're going to be on the road longer, which is going to cost them more in time and fuel. Your current pay is in line with other local school boards, and in light of budget cuts, salary freezes, larger classes, and constant conservation that we have been forced with over the past 10 years, it is bad form to raise the school board pay by such an amount. The 3% increase as being recommended for employees, or even a 5 or 10% increase, would be more palatable. A true leader leads by example. It is time to set the example, start doing what's best for the students and the school system, give the teachers and staff the support that they deserve and the tools that they need. What we don't need is to be continually told to do more with less while you authorize an 85% pay increase for the board. Thank you.
Mr. Gibson, followed by Roger Tirico Lazaret, and then speaker number 13 will be Mr. Stephen Greenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll cut right to the chase. With my top 10 reasons, the board should not vote tonight to raise its pay to $37,500. Number one, the board does not need to pay itself 80% of the pay of a full-time starting teacher, nearly double the pay of a starting instructional assistant to attract good candidates. When I joined the board in 1996, 12 of us did this job for $8,000 a year. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers or voicemail. We did get a lot of mail every day in a canvas bag delivered to our house. And we met almost every night a week because we had 10 committees. We had no shortage of candidates from diverse backgrounds who wanted to do the job. In fact, if you want to encourage people to do the job, you'd make it easier to run. You wouldn't pay people more to serve. If the job's too demanding for the pay, you can fix it. You control your own agenda, and you control your own workload. It doesn't require somebody to have wealth, to quote somebody who sits on this board, to be on the board. I was a full-time federal employee with a stay-at-home mom and 2 kids. I served with retirees, federal employees, business owners. There were not a lot of wealthy people who have ever served on this school board, and you don't have to pay somebody $37,500 to get somebody to serve. We served because we had a passion for helping children and a desire to serve. It wasn't the money. The school board's not the board of supervisors. They have dedicated staffs. They have 2 offices. That's a full-time job. You're comparing yourselves to the wrong people. You should compare yourself to your employees. You should benchmark your raises to the raises you've given your employees. And if you did that, what you would have done in '99 is raise the pay to 12. In 2007, you would have raised it to 18, and I would have voted for it instead of voting against it. and now you'd be voting to raise your pay to 27, and I wouldn't be standing here, I'd be with my family. Sends the wrong message to the community, sends the wrong message to your staff, sends the wrong message to the taxpayers. Here's the most important part. The decision is short-sighted, and it conflicts with your strategic goals to obtain more funding. 25 years ago, before I ever joined the PTA, before I ever heard of the PTA, I started advocating for more funding for schools because it was the right thing to do. Then I joined PTA, trained people to advocate for better funding, joined this board, joined VSBA, NSBA, advocated for more funding. Since I retired from this board 4 years ago, that's all I've done. Now you're here, you've cut back, you've shorted teacher pay, you've made people do more with less, and I don't know how you go to funding bodies with a straight face and say you need more money when you're going to spend $250,000 to increase your own pay. More importantly, I don't see how you're going to convince people like me to do that, and we're the people you need to advocate for that. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. If you do this, you need to own it, because you will end up violating your own priorities and making it more difficult to do what you need to do the job you got elected to do. Vote no. Thank you.
Roger Tirico Lazaret. All right. Steve Greenberg, followed by Elizabeth Thomas, followed by Yolanda Burke.
Esteemed school board members, my name is Steve Greenberg. I'm president of the Fairfax County Federation of Teachers, and I represent 4,500 educators who actually care. I will be speaking tonight in regards to any potential school board salary increase. I've given a few emotional speeches recently, maybe too happy or just angry enough, supervisors. However, tonight there should be no emotion. This is not a decision to be made by emotion or taken personally by anybody. In fact, deciding on whether to raise a school board chair salary has nothing to do with any of you. As the CEO of a nonprofit, I know this is really only about business. This is staffing, HR, this is cost-benefit analysis. Question, is the position of Fairfax County School Board member compensated fairly for the value of the position? And if not, can we afford to compensate it at a higher level? Some considerations to those. One, is this current school board compensation in line with current market value of the position? I've heard some different people up here tonight, but I would say actually no. There is some variance as to what school board members make across the country, but considering the importance of the financial burden you carry at 52% in similarly sized school systems, I would say no. Number two, is the current school board compensation in line with the duties, expectations, and responsibilities of the job? Once again, no. In order to do this job effectively, you must work full-time hours, and if you don't think so, please don't run. The current school board salary, $20,000, would not support the expectations of full-time work in Fairfax County. Number three, is the value of the position here in line with current pay? No. Listen to this, everybody out there. The Fairfax County School Board is the only elected body of politicians in Fairfax who actually advocates for teachers and for fully funding our schools. Without them, our budget deficit would be worse and our teachers would be completely ignored and abused. Just look at how our county supervisors are treating us right now. The history of the FCPS School Board has always been to advocate for the funding of schools, and compensation of employees is a priority. We have all stood together this week at the Board of Supervisors hearings, or at least many of us I see up here. I hope everybody else out here is up here throwing rocks was out there with us. Over the past few days, I have heard many teachers rightfully criticize our county supervisors for giving themselves a big fat raise. They should be furious, as these same hypocritical Democrats and Republicans have advocated to underfund our schools by action to the point of crisis over the past few years. The teachers who verbally reprimanded our county supervisors at the county government center over the last few days were right, and sending their frustrations at the correct leaders. Let's keep that disgust pointed in the appropriate direction together at the Board of Supervisors. So in conclusion, can we afford to compensate school board members at a higher rate? We can't afford not to. It makes me nervous to think that the only candidates that can be up there are people that are independently wealthy, retired, have well-to-do spouses. I want working class people up there. I am a union president. This does not hurt teacher salaries, the amount of money that this would cost at all. We cannot afford to not keep a high-quality school board, and I rely desperately on each of you. And I want you to know that I'm glad this isn't personal tonight, because then I'd have some other things to say. You have a great evening. Thank you.
Elizabeth Thomas, followed by Yolanda Burke and Kimberly Adams.
Hello, thank you so much for affording us the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I've been a resident of Fairfax County for over 22 years. My husband and I are proud parents of 3 boys who went all the way through Fairfax County schools, the youngest of whom is a freshman at Madison. I have served on the executive committee of several PTAs at the high school and the elementary school level, and I am a new teacher, a career switcher. I just wanted to share my own personal opinion that I am opposed to this large of a salary increase. Here's why. A salary of $37,500 is dangerously close to the starting salary of a teacher with just a bachelor's degree. As you know, a salary for a teacher is $46,756, but with the mandated 8% retirement, that comes to $43,015. That's very close to your recommended salary. Secondly, such a large salary increase for school board members sends the message to us all that you are very out of touch with the frustration of teachers who have experienced no salary increase for years and a small salary increase that was delayed by several months. I suggest that we tie the school board salary growth to the growth of the teacher salaries. That would be a really good suggestion. Third, the argument that the current salary of $20,000 is too low to be attractive to people is laughable in my opinion. I don't want a school board that's here for the money. I want a school board that's here for community involvement. Fourth, the argument that there is a lot of meetings. Let's remember that most of the meetings that you attend, you speak to all volunteers, PTAs, Rotaries, things like that. Everybody in the room is volunteering their time. I want a school board who volunteers their time. In conclusion, let me be clear. I am for a school board that works on improving curriculum, how we educate the myriad of students, and what we use to educate and assess students and teachers. I am for an FCPS school board that can focus on community and parent involvement and integration. I am for a school board that focuses on facilities and legislative issues that affect education, and I am for an FCPS school board that does this for $20,000 a year. Thank you.
Yolanda Burke, followed by Kimberly Adams, followed by Bruce Nielsen. All right, Kimberly Adams.
Good evening, Dr. Garza, school board members. My name is Kimberly Adams, and I represent the members of the Fairfax Education Association. Our members' views about the concept of a school board raise are very mixed. Some members are so upset about the lack of raises they have received over the last several years that they want you to have no raise at all. Others want to vote you out of office, and still many others think that the raises you are proposing don't go far enough and you deserve more. The similarities in questions regarding your raises and ours are striking. Where will we find the money? Will the public support your raises? Should we instead use this money for after-school programs or laptops? Are we putting the burden of the raises on the backs of parents and employees? Do we balance your raise with other things like test fees and sports fees? Rather than take a position here, we want to point out the shared values we have, which are far less in dispute. Our values include well-known ideas like the labor mantra of a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. Whether a teacher, an IA, a food service employee, transportation worker, custodian, or school board member, our work must be recognized and valued. We need to have the best people for the job, whether those people are in charge of the budget affecting our children or in charge of the children directly affected by the budget. Too many people in this district have been denied raises for far too long. With the recognition of these mutual values, the Fairfax Education Association must remain neutral, as the face of our divided and frustrated membership hopes that this board shares the values for all who make our living, or part of it, through FCPS. We all need reasonable raises. As always, we work together to find solutions to our problems. We keep our lines of communication open if we are to better and more fully understand each other. And we must focus on the source of our problems here, our funding from the Board of Supervisors and Richmond. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bruce Nilsson, followed by Mimi Trumbach, and then James Hare.
Madam Chairman and members of the Fairfax County School Board, good evening. My name is Bruce Nielsen. I reside in Kings Park West, and that's a subdivision served by Robinson High School. I come tonight to speak to you as an individual. I have no organization behind me, just my thoughts on your pay raise. Though none of my own children have attended the county's public schools, I am just as interested in a successful school system as any parent with school-age children. The performance and academic success of Fairfax schools is critical to the performance of real estate values, in which I have a vested interest. I own a house. The performance of our school system also depends on oversight provided by this board, which brings me to the subject of my statement, your salary increase. I've always thought school board member salary is inadequate. I've joked with many of you to say we're paying you less than the minimum wage for the hours you devote to school board work. I feel that the taxpayers are getting more than their share, more than their money's worth. So I'm here tonight to support the proposed salary increase from $20,000 to $37,500 per year for school board members and a little more for the chair, beginning with the start of your next term of office. You oversee spending of a budget this year of $2.3 billion. That is almost $200 million a month or $6 million a day. Rarely do we hear public reports of massive waste or spending abuses by the schools. Rather, we hear of ways the school system economizes or of growing pains because we cannot expand fast enough for unplanned, unexplained growth in enrollment. The salaries paid to school board members in other school systems with comparable enrollment are relevant. Hillsborough County Public Schools in Tampa, Florida pays their school board members about $41,000 per year with enrollment of almost 200,000 students. Orange County Public Schools in Orlando pays the same with enrollment of 180,000. Fairfax proposes an annual salary of $37,500 and enrollment is 187,000. Across the Potomac River, Montgomery County, Maryland, pays their school board members somewhat less, $29,000 per year, with enrollment of 146,500, and I would argue that they too are due for an increase. Fairfax County taxpayers get professional services from each of you. We have a high-quality school system with high-quality oversight. Fairfax County neighborhoods are the first choice for people moving here from somewhere else, and the schools are the reason. Graduates of our schools have no trouble gaining admission at higher education opportunities of their choice. So give yourselves a raise and increase your salaries as proposed. Thank you.
Miss Mimi Trumbach. James Hare. Speaker number 20, Dawn Green. Speaker number 21, Tayan Lim. Speaker number 22, Gautam Chowdhury. All right, it's my understanding, I just got word, okay, excuse me. All right, I'm going to keep reading the list. So Deidre Crescioli.
Good evening. As a graduate of Fairfax County Public Schools and an educator who has taught in Fairfax County for 17 years, I felt compelled to come and speak here tonight. The lack of compensation for teachers in Fairfax County concerns me, especially as we are ranked 85th out of 125 nationwide and 8th out of 10 within our region in terms of employee compensation. Beyond that, I am surprised that our school board feels it appropriate to nearly double their own salaries while having ignored the need for competitive teacher compensation for years and years. I understand that the salary increase for the board may be considered a drop in the bucket in terms of the overall budget, but there have been many drops in the bucket over recent years. Turf fields were a drop in the bucket. The sleep initiative is a drop in the bucket. A pretty big drop, but a drop nevertheless. I submitted a cartoon to the board, which I find applicable to the way the board has operated lately. It deals with the mathematical concept of infinitesimals. In the cartoon, a man is selling lemonade, and a child asks him how much he will charge her for one drop. He replies that he'll give her a drop for no charge. So she holds up a cup and asks for a cup full of drops. The budgetary drops could be combined to reduce class size, if not all classes, at least for some of the elementary classes, which have over 30 students. There are 58 elementary schools in our county that currently have at least one class with over 30 students. A colleague of mine is married to another teacher. His wife has a class of 29 first graders. I would like everyone to think about that for a moment. Think about the needs of a 6-year-old, then think about the needs of 29 6-year-olds. And imagine one teacher not only trying to address those needs, but also teach those 29 6-year-olds foundational literacy, mathematical, science, and social studies skills. The budgetary drops could be used to provide resources that teachers need in the classroom. It is not unusual to have only one working copier in my building, which has a combined staff of 225. Many schools around the county regularly run out of paper. It is difficult to teach effectively without the necessary materials. A new teacher earns $46,756 per year. As a mentor for the Fairfax County Great Beginnings program for new teachers, I can tell you that I have yet to work with a new teacher or an experienced teacher who works less than 50 hours a week. Many work over 60 hours a week every week. I'm not going to rehash the salary. I would hope the board would consider how teachers, parents, and students view this proposed raise. This teacher, parent, and former student views it as a betrayal of our mission, which is to put students first. That is difficult to do when class sizes are growing, teacher retention is more and more problematic each year due to lagging compensation, and resources are scarce. Please put all of the budgetary drops in a bucket into one cup, one that directly benefits our students. Thank you.
Krista Ziegler.
Good evening, Dr. Garza and school board members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Krista Ziegler. I've been teaching in this school system since 1993. My 3 children have also attended Fairfax County Public Schools since kindergarten. As I understand it, some members of the school board believe this significant salary increase will better reflect the hours and duties of school board members and serve to encourage less affluent members in the community to seek school board positions. To remain a licensed teacher in Virginia, I am required to continually improve my professional skills through college-level courses, attending and teaching instructional workshops and conferences, publishing articles or books, mentoring my colleagues, or pursuing educational projects. Of necessity, these activities take place outside my contract hours. I must document and submit these ongoing efforts every 5 years in order to renew my license. Furthermore, as a teacher in Fairfax County, I am evaluated every 3 years and must provide extensive and time-consuming documentation during the school year for all 7 of the following standards: professional knowledge, instructional planning, instructional delivery, assessment, learning environment, professionalism, student academic progress. I currently teach 127 8th graders. And this school year is even more challenging given that my VA license renewal is due in June and it is my 3-year evaluation cycle. So I am very sympathetic to having to put in extra uncompensated hours and late nights to fulfill my job requirements. Each of you communicate to taxpayers on a regular basis, but I seek something more objective and data-based to justify your salary. Because you are, like me, professionals working on behalf of the community to facilitate and improve education in Fairfax County. I believe it is fair for the community to be able to evaluate your fulfillment of duties in a systematic, equitable manner without having to wait for an election year. Therefore, I support your school board salary proposals, provided you are willing to engage in a school board member evaluation system based on to-be-determined standards and objectives. Thank you.
Sorry. Speaker number 26, Douglas Cullen.
Good evening, Dr. Garza, members of the school board. I'd like to speak to my disappointment with the school board with regard to this proposed pay raise at this time. We've been told over the course of the last 6 years that the county simply cannot afford additional tax funds to provide its citizens with more service. The result of the steadfast position of the county supervisors have been that FCPS teachers, along with other county employees, have seen their salaries frozen, and with maybe perhaps a small increase to help offset the cost of living. But it doesn't really offset the real spending power that we have. Now we see that despite absolute insistence there's no more money, and we must learn to deal with budgetary shortfalls, the Board of Supervisors took that opportunity to give themselves a 26% raise. Among the justifications was the need to achieve pay equity with other school supervisors. So following their lead, this school board has proposed to trump that and go for 85%. And we're assured that that was a compromise from a bigger one. With this proposed one, you would actually be paid far and away more. And probably you deserve a raise. But you certainly have been talking the last several years about teachers deserve a raise. And the job of getting teachers a raise falls on you, and you have fallen short. Meanwhile, at the point where the dollars do the work, at the schools where students do their learning, teachers are facing yet another increase in class size, more testing and retesting, more collection of data, and more initiatives, and a token raise that doesn't really cover the loss of spending power over the last 6 years. And it doesn't take care of those 40 kids in a math classroom or limited services for ESL students and the greater number of incoming ESL students. The argument that you need to pay well in order to attract the best people, it's a wonderful argument. It applies to your teachers too. When you've been featured in a national salary review that points out that Fairfax County now is featured as among one of the 10 least beneficial places for teachers to teach, then how do you expect to continue to attract high-quality teachers to do the work that needs to be done? If this had been the case when I chose to teach here in Fairfax County, I probably would have made a different decision. I may yet. It's not a new issue. You've been talking about this for years. You've been talking about the lack of increase in compensation. But we know that the solution will involve cooperation of both the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Education. Will this kind of increase encourage the Board of Supervisors to look kindly upon any increase to the schools when it looks like you're just cutting off a big piece of the cake for yourself? Thank you.
All right, it's my understanding that there are no other speakers here, but I'm going to go over the list that I have in front of me of the no-shows, and if anyone is here, please step forward at this time. Tracy Waller. Justin Bayan. Selva Siva Parkasam. Cheryl Wood. Roger Torricchio Lazaret. Yolanda Burke. Mimi Trumbaugh. James Hare. Dawn Green. Tyann Lim. Gautam Chowdhury. Diane McKendry. Kevin Hulbert. All right, I have one speaker who signed up for this evening, and that is George Becerra.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm going to be like a broken record. You've heard some of my comments already. It's more for the people who haven't shown up here for the whole year. $2.6 billion versus $2.3 billion, which you guys are held responsible for 2.6, and the Board of Supervisors 2.3. They have five staff assistants compared to your half staff assistant. You guys get paid $20,000, they get paid $75,000. They're going for $95,000. Again, someone had mentioned what responsibilities or percentage of why the high pay raise? Well, at the same time, your responsibilities is for 189,000 kids, are probably most precious gift, or 21,000 children per district. Okay, I don't think teachers do that. As much as I love them, they educate my child, I tell you don't. Again, all these people come for 0.0008 of the budget. Please come here. We meet twice a month, and please come back. If you have some extra time to come here, you could have gone to the Board of Supervisors public hearings and made your opinions known about that too. Again, $2.3 billion budget, they get $75,000. For your information, there hasn't been noted that the proposal from the board member for this amendment was from the only minority school board member on this. It was more a historical fact that it was more diverse when these positions were appointed, okay, and in terms of not gender, but also race, ethnicity, and economic status. Ms. McLaughlin, I understand your dilemma in making a decision like all the board members. You're making a political one. But I'd like to know why I voted for you a couple years ago, because you're courageous and you're decisive. I hope that doesn't change. I understand the political game here. Hope you do not need a task force each time there's a hard decision for 0.0008% of the budget. If you can do that, make it consistent throughout. Again, I've fought for you guys for months over this issue. When this comes up during budget time, also our parent liaisons need equitable pay. Okay. Again, I'm also confused about the teachers associations. One I hear has a stance, the other doesn't. Last year was vice versa on other issues. I get broken records of what teachers really want or respect or need or don't need. Okay, I need them to be one unified team, because that's what also the Board of Supervisors see. Again, at the end of the day, please make the right decision. People don't see how many hours you work. They don't see that you have other jobs. That affects families, marriages, everything else. So if y'all can do that on top of when you guys leave work, I like to think about how your marriages and your livelihoods and having family time with your kids will be. Thank you very much.
Since we had 12 no-shows, we do have other slots, so if anyone would like to speak at this time, please come up to the lectern, and you may state your name and then go to Ms. Goddard to provide her additional contact information. All right, then seeing and hearing no further comments, this public hearing is adjourned, and what we were going to do then is we are going to go back into our closed meeting for a brief period. So the board will now make a motion to go into a closed meeting to discuss the acquisition of real property for the purpose in connection with an elementary school site and/or the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of school board in accordance with Section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia, and 2, to discuss and consider the employment, assignment, and performance of specific public employees pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia. Do I have a motion? Made by Ms. Hines, seconded by Mr. Moon. All of those in favor? The vote is unanimous. We are now going back into closed session.